collecting money is nothing but fun, right? The question is, what's the format? Stamps are a form of currency. Paper money is a form of currency. And collector coins, well, that's the weight and what most of us talk about on a regular basis. Every once in a while, we get the privilege of bumping into a deal of our vintage paper, our currency. And tonight, this one, in the quality it's in, certified, it deserves an oh my before we even get started. This is the last large size silver certificate ever made by the U.S. Mint, Treasury, excuse me. They switched to the small size in 1928, and it's been that size ever since, and it's the same size we have in our pocket today. Now this is a high-grade circulated PCGS 40. It is an outright steal at this price level. Look at it. I mean, these look like somebody put them aside a long time ago, and then somehow they stayed flat to keep the crispness. You can even see the threads in the note today, which is very difficult on the older notes. But let's talk about silver certificates, because right, the Bland-Allison Act passes, the Morgan dollar is out there, but at the same time, they're pushing paper. And the early silver certificates were not the smaller $1 and $5, $1, $2, and $5 denominations. They were only the larger notes to get that stockpile in our treasury, in our banks. But from that time, we had 4 large size $1 notes that had the blue seal, like you're seeing here. The first one, go figure. This is the last one. The first one then has to be what? Well, the 1886 was Martha Washington. She was the first person on a $1 silver certificate. And then the 1896 was the educational note, Lady Liberty on the front, and then George and Martha on the back. The 1899 Black Eagle and/or called the Lincoln and Grant note. And then there's this one, the 1923, the last large size note ever. Now, we'll talk about the grading on this one, the certified number on this one, as well as the PPQ at the end, which basically stands for Great Eye Appeal. Competition has regular circulated notes that are 8 to 12 on the grading scale. This is a 40, and they're at 137. We found one other that has a PCGS 40, not a PPQ, but a 40, and they were at 279. So the right grade, just not the right eye appeal. And then we did find one other of our competitors with this note in the exact same grade, they are identical, 40 PPQ. And they're at, well, over 400. We're less than half tonight. We talk about currency whenever we can get it. A couple of things to remember. One, it's paper. It's not supposed to last. It's supposed to last 9 months, right? The Silver Purchase Act of 1934 opened up the concept, but the repeal of it, right, in 1964 ended it, right? Which means in 64, it was the last time you could walk into a bank and get coin for your silver certificate. President Kennedy signed an executive order, 11110, that said you can still use the notes in circulation, but it won't be worth $1 at the bank. And here's the one I did not know until I did a little history on this one, because I love these notes. I didn't know this part of the history. Did you know from March of 64 until June of 68, if you brought a silver certificate into a bank and they had granules, they would give you an ounce of silver for your silver certificate. How crazy was that? Now, here's one thing we're forgetting. In 1928, that is when the miniature note, our current note, came into being. What did they do in 1928? Destroy all the old ones because they're too big. Guys, we got to put a 30-second clock up. We're down to single digits. Thank you, everyone. Again, we don't get quality currency, great grades, and crazy prices often. Maybe once a week. Maybe we're lucky twice a week. That's 15 hours of talk, 150 products. One of them is a piece of currency. We actually have 2 this week. Woohoo! I mean that. We don't usually have to. Now, the blue seal says this certificate, this certifies that there have been deposited in the Treasury of the United States silver dollars payable to the bearer on demand. When's the last time you've heard anything that sexy said to you? Because that is pretty profound. I can go to the bank and they got to give me silver for my silver certificate. This is the last of its kind. It's a 40 PPQ, and we are hundreds under a competition. And you guys recognize that because I'm almost out. It's time to be moving on.